Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Mathis again. We're on 7.4 nested control structures. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, nested control structures. Okay, so let's take a look at this example. I want to go over some examples with you in this video because this is a topic that many students struggle with. So I think this is a really good example of how um, a for loop inside of a for loop runs. So let's run this and let's see what happens. So if you look at this, this is the outer loop, okay? And this is the inner loop. So the outer loop runs once, and then the inner loop runs 4 times. Then after the inner loop runs those 4 times, which you can see here, then the outer loop runs again, okay, for the second time here, and then the inner loop runs 4 times. Now you're probably wondering, why is this 0 and not 1? When you don't specify in Python, I always starts with 0, okay? And J always starts with 0 unless you specify it's something else, okay? And so now after it loops, the outer loop runs twice, it loops again for a third time, and then the inner loop prints 4 times again. And so this is a really good way. And then it finally ends after this loops 4 times, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. And the inner loop runs 4 times within each time that it loops. So I think this is a really good illustration on how a for loop inside of a for loop runs, an inner loop versus the outer loop. Okay, any questions, please ask. Now let's look at this next example, okay? Um, this program asks for test scores of multiple people and reports the average test score for each person. So let's run it, let's see what it does. We enter a name, Mathis, okay? Let's enter a score, let's put some scores in really quickly. Okay, my average is 66. Let's put Steve. His is 89, 23, 55. Okay, good. Let's put someone else. Marsha, 58, 89. Okay, and that's the end of the program. Okay, so I just did something really fast here. So if we take a look at this, we have the outer loop, right? Which are the enter name, outer loop, outer loop, outer loop. And then we have the inner loop, okay, where you have these. So the inner loop runs 3 times within each outer loop, and then the outer loop just runs 3 times altogether. Okay, and then it just calculates the average and prints it. So please change these numbers and see what happens and see how things change inside. All right, let's move on. Okay, now let's look at a for loop inside a while loop inside of a for loop. Now this is another really good illustration on how these work. Okay, so we have a for loop, an outer for loop that's going to run 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, once again, I starts with 0. And not 1, so it's 0, 1, 2, 3, which runs 4 times, which we have this 4 here. And the inner loop, okay, is a while loop. And within this inner loop, we have x equals I, okay? And then as long as x is greater or equal to 0, it's going to print this, and then it's going to subtract 1. So as you see, since I equals x, we have 0. And since I equals x1, we have 1. We minus 1 each time, and that's why we keep going down each time. So the loop goes until this condition is true. All right, so I think that's a really good example of how a while loop operates inside of a uh, for loop. Okay, so in this next one we have rolling dice. Okay, rolling dice. So write a program that will print out all the combinations that can be made when two dice are rolled. Okay, so let's, all right, so, okay, good. So let's take a look at this. So we know we need two different types of for loops, okay? Um, because we need, just like we went over before, this would be the outer loop, right? And the second column would be an inner loop. Okay, so let's try things out. Okay, for I in range, okay, we want some sort of range here. So if you put a comma, the first number is the start value, and the second number is the stop value. Now you're probably wondering why are we putting 7 and not 6 when you roll a die or dice, it's 1 to 6. In Python, this second number is every number until you get to this point. Okay, so this actually, just give you an example, if we print it, it does not actually print 7. So it stops the counting right before we get to that whatever number it is. So let's say if we run it, you see 1 to 6. Okay. If you put 8, it'll go from 1 to 7. All right, so let's move on. Okay, so we have this sort of list, right? Just like here, we want now we want one to go. We want one to be in this outer loop, and we want these numbers to be in an inner loop. So let's get an inner loop going. So for J in range, it's just typical in Python to use I and J, but in actuality, you can use um, something else there. Okay, so now that we have I and J, we have to try to print it so it looks like this. So how can we print it so it looks like this? So the first one would be I. Okay, so let's print I. Now, remember I is an integer, so we can't put a comma in there. So we're going to need to like plus, comma, plus J, right? To make it look like this exact form. Remember, this is considered a string, and you can't combine strings with integers. So what do we have to do? We have to wrap this around some sort of, it's the str function to turn this into a string just for printing purposes. Okay, so let's see what this gives us. Okay, good, good, good. So let's check the code. All right, good. So everything works out. All right, great job, everybody. Let's move on to one more. Okay, so we're at categories on 7.4. Write a program, ask the user for 3 categories. For each category, ask the user for 3 things in that program. Okay, so let's just put that here. Okay, let's just shorten this a bit. Okay, good. So, all right, so let's take a look at what we want. So remember, this takes on the same form that we looked at earlier in this video. You see enter a category, enter a category, enter a category. Okay, so that looks like an outer loop. Okay, so let's start this outer loop out. All right, so for I in range, this looks like it's going to run 1, 2, 3 times. Let's put 3. Okay, now we have within this outer loop, we have something that looks like it's going to run 3 times. Okay, so let's just kind of just set this up. We're gonna put stuff in between, but just to get like a nice skeleton going for J in range, we know that's going to be 3. Okay, so for here, we are going to input, right? We want the user to input something. So what do we want? We'll just Codehs want enter a category. So let's just get that exactly. Good, enter a category. And for here, what does Codehs want? Enter something in that category. All right, so let's enter something in that category. All right, good. Now, as always, we have to put this inside you have to store whatever the user puts in inside some sort of variable. Okay, and let's put thing. Okay, because they want us to ask the user for 3 things. So we're just going to call this thing. All right, so good. All right, so this looks good so far. So let's just test it out. Let's see what it looks like. So we run it. Let's enter a category. We put car into something in that category. Honda, Jeep, Lexus. All right, good. And we have letters. We can just do something quick. A, B, C, numbers 1, 2, 3. All right, good. So we're almost there. But what do we need? We need to print this, right? So we're putting whatever they input, we're trying to print this here, right? Okay, so how are we going to do that? This should remind you of something we did earlier in this unit. If we go to how many names, we go down to, I think we go to how many names, okay? If you go back to how many names, we did something just like this, okay? Where we had our names function empty, right? And then we added a name to the names function and printed the name. So just to refresh your memory, how many names do you have? 4, okay? Mathis, Python, Code, whatever, always. That's a strange name, but let's just see, and we printed it. So we want to use this same idea to go back to categories. So let's go back to categories, okay? Okay, this is where we are. Okay, so so we want to get, just like we did in that 7 point, that what we just talked about, we want to get some sort of empty string, okay? We want to get an empty string. And so whatever that goes, that the user inputs for thing, we want it to kind of be added to this empty string. All right, so let's put things, right? Right? So this is equal to that, okay? And so whatever the user writes, we're going to add it and combine it, right? So it just keeps combining to this variable. just like we did in that last one. And we want to put a space, so every time the user adds something, there's a space in between. Okay, so let's just see. Okay, and then we can print. Let's just see what this looks like now. Okay, let's just see what this looks like. Okay, all right, letters A, B, C. Good. Numbers, just something quick just to test out the code. Okay, good. Now, what are we missing? What are we missing? I think we're just missing whatever the user put for category and this semicolon. Okay, so we want to print category, right? So whatever the category is, whatever is inputted, it will go here. Now we need to combine this with some sort of semicolon. And let's put a space just because they do have a space right here. And this should do it. Let's just test out, check our code. Good. And just so we can run through it real fast, just so you can see it all together. Numbers, 1, 2, 3. Into category, I'm gonna go colors, red, blue, green. Okay, into category, we'll go letters, A, C, B, letters. All right, so there you go. It looks just like it. All right, so great job, everyone. If you have any questions, please ask.